Chapter 3 The Frozen. Everything was once again white in between the hills. "Mark, are you here?" Klimo called out. "Yes, I am. Saban can see everything you see and knows everything that you know. He knows that your journey is not easy." Mark Johnson became visible in front of Klimo. "I haven't had a chance to kill Jarius. How can I possibly do this?" "Patience, my friend. Your opportunity will arise. You are about to enter the third hell. In here, if Garrix has not yet taken another god, you will find Levistus, a grave threat. Beware, my friend. Even through his frozen prison, Levistus rules that terrible place." "Mark, I could summon you. Together we could fight." Mark shook his head. "No, my friend. Saban's will is for me as his emissary and not his weapon." So, kill Jarius, then what?" "One thing at a time, my friend." "Cold! I can barely move!" Klimo screamed. Jason pulsed with psychic energy that quickly covered himself and Klimo. "That was close. This hell is entirely frozen. Something has changed here." Klimo shook snow and ice off of his person, feeling relieved of the biting cold that surrounded them. "We have been considerably drained from the long fight in that arena." "I know. Hell has no resting place. We may never get a chance to replenish our strength." "This place is cold. I never imagined a cold hell, especially with that old phrase about hell freezing over." "I stopped expecting things years ago," Jason said. "Conserve what energy you can. Jarius already has 2 of his hell boxes. We won't be able to track him down, but we can find his blasphemous box before him." They searched out the frozen hell. Along the way, they avoided massive ice monsters and devils. Neither were delighted at the prospect of fighting. Their psychic exhaustion knew no limit. Looking out, they witnessed countless mountains stretching out for millions of miles. Jason took note of how linear this hell was. While it stretched in every direction endlessly, it was not like a planet. Millions of miles were seen off in the distance. It was impossible to tell if some mountains were massively large or if they were closer than others. Few souls were visible as well. There were not countless hordes of devils spread around everywhere. Even with Klimo's eyes, he detected very few devils and souls. They were not invisible. The third hell was for the third offense of the gods, greed. That being the desire to have more than needed. For one to give in to the greedy desires and hold their own greed above the needs of others was one the gods have always found loathsome. Levistus, the third devil prince, had taken full advantage of the vastness of his realm. Damned souls were packed frozen all around, but too far from each other to ever communicate in any fashion. They were buried deep into the ice, never to see another damned soul. On a very rare occasion, an ice devil might get bored and torture one of the damned souls. Those tortures might include simple pain. More than likely, though, they formed to torture out of the soul's memory, making them go mad in the process. Jason and Klimo have been moving through this hell via a fast-moving power. Jason manifested. Jason abruptly stopped. He held up his hand, letting Klimo know to wait. Looking down at the ice beneath them, Jason nodded as if agreeing with something. Pointing his hand down, the superior psychic blasted a hole into the ice. Jumping in with Klimo right behind him, he turned to his companion. "This area will do. We are exhausted, and we should be able to hide and rest here." He answered the unspoken question Klimo was about to ask. Jason manifested several protections around the area. Klimo put up no argument as the two sat down, crossed their legs, and entered the meditation that all Elans must enter in order to rest. Through this method, the REM cycle was accessed much faster, while at the same time they remained half aware of their surroundings. 1 hour passed. "Please, no more." A voice was heard from within the ice just beside the two psychics. Klimo opened his eye to look. Who are you? He stood up, then approached a soul trapped in ice. This is not entirely unexpected. Oh, I see. So you are one of the damned. Yes, devil, I am. You come to torture me by showing yourself as a man, his weary voice said. His face was showing, giving Klimo a sense of familiarity. I am no devil, but I know I cannot convince you otherwise. We have ventured through the first two hells and are now here in your hell. Tell me your story, damned soul. I am too tired and cold to play along with your maddening games. Klimo sighed. Pointing at the soul, he utilized his psychic ability, twisting space to remove the soul from the ice. The dead man collapsed onto the floor. I can feel warmth for the first time in over 200 years, he said. Now do you believe me? Klimo asked. Jason continued to meditate, either unaware or uninterested in this interaction. The devils would never allow me, even for a moment of reprieve from my damnation. You cannot be one of them. Now that is cleared up, you can tell me your name, Klimo said. Klimo, the damned soul said. The one-eyed teleporter smirked. You must have gotten down here for so long that you have forgotten your own name. My friend here called me that earlier. I am sorry for your suffering. The withered spirit did not change his facial expression. But Klimo is my name. Klimo continued to look at the damned soul while wearing a dubious expression. You do not look like a Klimo, at least not one I have ever met. He referred to alternate versions of himself that existed all across the multiverse. Other Klimos? The spirit asked. Tell me your story, Klimo. I desire to hear it. There's not much to tell, to be honest. I used my psychic gift of teleportation to become a master thief. Me and my wife were eventually killed by witch hunters. In truth, I belong here. My parents were killed by witch hunters, Klimo said. Jason sighed. Klimo, this is your father. I scanned his mind. You have his name. This should be obvious by now. Klimo turned to Jason, astonished. But my father? The withered spirit sighed. Oh, so this is the game you devils play on me now. You torture me by making me believe that you are my son. Nothing you say will ever convince me it's true. Please put me back on the ice, you devil. But if you're my father, we have so much to talk about, Klimo pleaded. The damned soul looked down, refusing to look at Klimo and refusing to listen. Klimo turned back to Jason. What should I do? There's nothing you can do. He's been tormented for so long that he will not believe you no matter what you say. Even now he believes my words are some kind of trick. His eyes were still closed. Father? I know you will not reply. You were a thief in life. That is why you are here in the third hell. I will not burden myself by carrying you, but if you wish, I will kill your soul and end your suffering. The soul said nothing as it continued to stare down, ignoring his son. Klimo gave up, shaking his head. He returned back to his place next to Jason to meditate. They rested fully. Climbing out of the hole, Klimo looked in the distance. Do you know where we are going from here? Jarius cannot be found. I did locate his hellbox at least. He has gotten to it. He has not gotten to it yet. I will place the location in your mind. Take us there, Jason said. Klimo took one last look at his father inside of the hole in the ice. Shaking his head once more, he sighed. With no words, the two psychics vanished. Levistus. This was a god of hell that had defied Asmodeus to the point of permanent retribution. Levistus was a god that both terrified and excited every devil in his domain. Harnessing the power of all four elements, Levistus would burn with water and crush with the wind. He combined elemental properties and created elemental devils. While his fire abilities were not as powerful as Garrick's, he was mighty all the same. Levistus was not only a master of elemental magics, but also massive in stature and size. As a giant alone, he was fearsome. Like all devils, Levistus was not above betrayal for higher gains. When Jason first entered the early abyss so long ago, Asmodeus sent a crystalline monster to attack the psychic. With the top devil diverting his attention even for a moment, Levistus took full advantage. The chamber Asmodeus was occupied at the same time erupted with the sudden arrival of elemental devils teleporting in. Asmodeus was never a pushover and was never unprepared even during that moment. Levistus stood no chance and was defeated. Asmodeus spared the life of Levistus, not out of pity, but for the purpose of making an example out of him. The former elemental devil god was drained of control over the elements and encased in ice for all eternity. Asmodeus decreed that from within the ice prison, Levistus could only command his remaining ice devils. His hell froze over, no longer sharing equal space with all four elements, but solely that of ice. Levistus existed perfectly still within a mountain of magical demonic ice that not even Garrick's could melt. Behind Levistus stood several smaller frozen mountains, each encasing someone or something that Levistus loved. Levistus lived with the knowledge that the things he loved shared his never-ending fate just behind himself where he could never see. To the left of Levistus, within his own mountain, clear ice 12 feet from his reach, was the hell box of the third hell. Jarius stood before that mountain, staring at that box, stuck in that ice. "This is quite the unexpected turn of events, I must say." Levistus looked down at Jarius and could not speak. "You are powerless to do anything to me, while at the same time my hell box is with you. I would have to free you in order to get it, wouldn't I?" Levistus continued to stare at Jarius. The psychic wizard sighed. Pointing at Levistus, a spark of psychic energy pulsated across his temple. "There, we can speak now. I have not spoken to anyone for some time now. Asmodeus wouldn't be quite upset to discover this." Jarius laughed. "Yes, he would be quite upset by a lot of things I have done. If Asmodeus could kill me, he would have done so by now. The devil of devils is not as blunt as you, father of demons." He opened his mouth to speak, only to say nothing. Behind himself, Jarius sensed something. "Damn! He's here much faster than I thought he would get here. Do me a favor and don't tell him I was here." Jarius snapped his fingers, vanishing from sight. Jason and Clemo materialized just behind where Jarius stood a moment ago. "So this is Levistus." Jason looked at the devil god trapped in ice, then looked at the trapped hell box. "And what is this? 2 birds with 1 stone, as the old saying goes." "Jason, how will we—" Clemo was cut off by Jason. "Nothing is beyond our power, my friend." Jason held up his hand, surrounded by psychic energy. The superior psychic commenced to fire multiple blasts at the ice. Each blast differed from the last. Fire at first did nothing, then lightning was equally ineffective. Jason blasted every element and several non-elements. His body surrounded itself in writhing tentacles of dark purple energy. Slashing them into the ice did nothing, as did a similar power using positive energy. He finally turned to Clemo. "Can you teleport them out?" Clemo manifested several teleportation techniques. Nothing happened. "No, I can't." Clemo slumped down, giving up. Jason laughed. We have only just begun. We have many things left to try on this ice. Something is bound to work. What if nothing we can do will work? Klimo asked. You figure out additional options while I keep blasting it with different things. Klimo stood up, then shrugged. The teleporting swordsman began pacing back and forth as he pondered what to do. Jason resumed his plethora of attacks. What will you do when they give up? Levistus thought. That's what I am waiting for, Jarius responded. Hours passed. Jason stepped back, finally ceasing his attacks. That was every power I have, Klimo. Have you come up with any ideas? Force cannot work on this. I do not understand exactly what this ice even is here, Klimo said. Well, Asmodeus has cursed that devil god by trapping him inside. Why? To make an example out of him. Klimo shook his head. So we could try something that devils could not possibly do. What can't devils do? Jason asked. What if the curse that frees the ice can only be done by either Asmodeus or a force of good? Asmodeus won't help us, so we can forget about that option. How could we possibly get Sabin or one of his angels to help us? We killed his brothers. Do you remember how I told you that Mark has talked to me? Jason looked away from Levistus and to Klimo. Wait, has he been watching us through you? Mark told me that Sabin knows everything that I know. Jason narrowed his eyes. So you still have faith in Sabin, huh? Klimo stepped back, alarmed by the question. You know I have always believed in the gods. You say that as if there were some doubt that the gods exist. You believe anything Sabin would tell you, wouldn't you? I know the two of you are enemies, but both of you do not see me as your enemy. Sabin wants me to kill Jarius, and I agree. I will kill him, Jason, the next chance I get. And so will I. Jason turned around, returning his gaze back to Leviscus in the hell box. We need to get that box before Jarius can. If Asmodeus cursed this ice so that only himself or good can pierce it, maybe Sabin could help us. Jason turned back to Klimo. Do you think he would? Klimo shook his head, shrugging his shoulders. Closing his eyes, Klimo prayed to Sabin. His prayer was not so much in words as it was a yearning or a feeling. His heart and soul reached out, calling to the last good god in existence. Klimo had not prayed too many times within his life, yet his faith in the good gods had never waned. A flash of memory crossed his mind's eye. Klimo saw the scenes from the previous years. He saw Deity, the chaotic good god of monsters and non-humans, die. Then he saw Guardian, the lawful good god of humans, fall. Magic wisped past him, forming the shape of a robed figure in the distance. Standing before that robed figure was the angelic shape of Mark Johnson, the former paladin and now current emissary of Sabin, the good god of neutrality and magic. My friend, Sabin has heard your prayer. While you have faith in Sabin, Sabin has had faith in you. Klimo opened his eye to see Mark standing there between himself and Jason. His wings settled down. The emissary of Sabin turned to Klimo. He placed his hand on his shoulder. I am here to see the destruction of that hellbox. Only the power of good can overcome evil. You see, we both will get what we want. I will get my hellbox, and you will be free. Jason stepped aside as Mark walked past him, approaching the ice encasing Levistus. What evil powers do you still possess? Mark asked himself just as much as he asked the silent devil god. His halo in hand illuminated as divine power slowly gathered around himself. The Archon, Mark Johnson, pushed his hand through the ice with no difficulty. The surrounding ice melted, skipping the liquidation process straight into evaporation. Steam flooded out of the hole Mark made as it expanded in every direction. The ice mountain rapidly evaporated. As the section passed over Levistus, the devil god twitched his long frozen limbs. The eyes moved around for the first time in years. Levistus blinked. His mouth curled into a smile. Opening his mouth to speak, Leviscus attempted to form words. "You fools! You should not have freed me, for I will!" His head vanished before his words finished. Clemo lowered his hand. "Die by my hand!" he said, ad-libbing the remainder of that devil god statement. "He was supposed to distract you." The voice of Jarius Kane came from where the free hellbox was. Jason fired a psychic beam at the evil wizard. The beam was deflected by the Godslayer sword that floated around Jarius. Jason tilts his head. "Quite bold of you, Jarius. How do you expect to get away from the greatest psychic, teleporter, and emissary of Sabin?" Jason pointed at Clemo without taking his eyes off of Jarius. "Do not let him teleport away." Clemo stared intently at the wizard, fully concentrating on canceling out any teleports Jarius might do. Mark spread his wings, floating in the air, readying himself to attack. Both himself and Jason charged the Vile One. Both psychic and divine energy surrounded them. They both passed through the image of Jarius Kane, never attacking him. They came to a halt, slamming into the ice on the ground. "How?" Jason screamed in confusion. Clemo blinked, equally confused. A voice whispered in the air. "Thanks for summoning the Archon." It was the voice of Jarius. Clemo spun around, swinging his swords, only to strike the cold air. His enchanted eye could have detected the illusion of Jarius set up. Yet he was dumbfounded to discover his vision actually failed him. "How?" Clemo exclaimed. Mark and Jason approached Clemo. Looking behind them, Clemo saw the empty space where the hellbox once occupied, taken by Jarius. Clemo averted his gaze, looking down, embarrassed to be fooled by Jarius once again. Mark stopped in front of Clemo. "Sabin foresaw this as a possibility," Mark said. "So did I," Jason added. "Mark, we have to stop him. You should come with us," Clemo said. "I should return to Sabin. I do not know what dark magic he has used on you to hinder your enchanted eye, but I will find out." Jason looked at Clemo. "We have to go. With or without Mark, we cannot allow him to attain the next hellbox." "What devil god awaits us now?" Clemo asked. Thossoth. "We are not done here." "I am," Mark said, vanishing. Clemo frowned. "What else do we have to do here?" "Figure out how to get to the fourth hell." Jason pointed in every direction. Everything looked the same. The two took flight by a power Jason manifested, while in the cold air he manifested several other powers that baffled Clemo on their differentiation. Clemo didn't bother to ask. It would only be a waste of time. Time. Now that's funny. I don't think time even exists anymore. Clemo pondered, remembering how the entire material realm, essentially the entire multiverse, was frozen in time. Looking down at the frozen souls spread out all around, scattered like discarded food specks, Clemo frowned. This hell is too similar to the real universe. Everything I know is frozen, not in ice, but in time itself. The people are unaware of their inability to move. That is probably the only difference between here and the rest of the multiverse. Jason! Clemo looked at him. Why don't you have an army? Jason's eyes were flashing a stream of colors across his pupils. The colors ceased as he looked at Clemo without stopping their flight. Why would I need one, and why are you asking now? You had an army, several armies. You had the Wizards of Overby, the Angels and Archons, demons at one point. Finally you had every Clemo in the multiverse helping you. Why don't we free my alternates from the timeless universes? Jason looked away from Clemo, returning his concentration back to finding the way to the fourth hell. You didn't answer either of my questions. Clemo felt the disinterest Jason had with the conversation. Under his breath, Clemo said, You didn't answer mine. Hours passed, possibly days. Neither psychic could tell. Jason ended their flight on top of a mountain. Down below, they saw something they did not expect. A cloaked man, or woman, standing in front of the unguarded entrance to the fourth hell. The cloak was tattered and dirty. The cloaked figure had snow on top of their hood, as well as on their shoulders. They had been standing there for a very long time. The cloak was yellow, opening in the center only a sliver, giving the two psychics a glimpse at their full frame. Jason couldn't make out any details. Clemo, however, with his enchanted eye, saw all of the details of the grotesque monstrosity standing before the entrance. Within that cloak was a maze of tentacles, eyes, and swirling, abominable shapes that should not exist. Their arms were crossed or folded into their sleeves, revealing nothing from within. With the hood pulled low over their face was also indistinguishable. Moving under the snow around this figure, movement was seen, yet remained unidentified. The figure remained motionless. Jason, can you see them? Not as good as you, but yes. Should we just teleport past them and move on? Jason shook his head. I doubt it will be that easy. Clemo's eyes widened with surprise. Teleport! That thing is teleporting! The robed thing vanished. Clemo spun around, drawing his sword, swinging in an upward arc in a single motion. Behind us! The monster was sliced in half from bottom to top. Inky, gooey black tar spread out, covering both Clemo and Jason. This goo clung to their bodies. There was nothing left of this creature but a puddle of slime on the ground, and sliced in twain yellow robes, falling to the ground with a gentle gust of the wind, they swirled down. Within the center of that puddle was a familiar crystal that Jason had seen more than one occasion. Clemo darted his eyes wildly. Why can't I move? To answer your question, a guttural voice responded. That black stuff prevents you from moving, and that crystal prevents you from manifesting. Jason narrowed his eyes, annoyed by his helpless situation. Everything went black for the two psychics. End of chapter 3.